Good evening. We are live captioning our meetings. Please look in the chat window of our WebEx meeting room where you'll find a link. Please click on that link to open a web page for live captioning. So at this time, I would like to call to order the regular meeting of the Maricopa County Community College District Governing Board for November 25, 2025. And for the record, I will call a roll call of board members. I think our student trustee, Ms. Smith, is online.
Present. President
Thank you,
Bittersmith.
ma'am. Thank you. Ms. Butler.
Present.
Ms. Davis.
Present.
Dr. Narini.
Present.
Ms. Smith.
Present.
Ms. Sullivan.
Present.
Dr. Thor.
Present.
And myself. The record reflect that all board members are present, including our student advisory representative. We are going to have the Pledge of Allegiance led by the Paradise Valley Community College students. I do not have names, but I'm guessing I could ask them to introduce themselves. Okay, a name, perfect. If you would introduce yourself, then we will stand and follow your lead on the pledge.
My name is Harvey O'Grady, and I am the representative for Paradise Valley Community College.
Wonderful, thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. Now, I think you're going to be coming back at some point, correct? Because that's what I have. Okay, making sure we're all on the same page. So let's now turn to the full student life reports, and there's more than Harvey, I think, right? Just Harvey. You have been abandoned. Well, then I was going to have to come back, please. I would have had you stand there, but I thought there were more people. So
It's okay. Okay. President Bittersmith, members of the board, Dr. Gonzalez, members of the Shared Governance Council, and guests. My name is Harvey O'Grady. I am the student senator for PVCC, and I am here to give you the Paradise Valley Community College updates. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of PV happenings, I'd like to give you some background on what brought me here today. I am a third-year biological sciences major at PVCC. I am also the student senator, president of the PV Occult Club, and one of the student life assistants at PV overseeing clubs and organizations. Next slide, please. While you heard a highlight about our supplemental instruction leaders last session and how they are recognized across campus as student leaders and support systems for their peers, I'd like to highlight the importance of our tutoring centers on campus. We have a central center where you can find tutoring for any subject you could dream of, whether it be music theory, physics, biology, writing, and more, as well as a math-focused tutoring center located in our math building. Our student tutors work one-on-one with their peers to help them feel less alone when it comes to derivatives, practicing their scales, or memorizing all 26 bones that are in the human hand. The tutors at our tutoring center realize students are struggling because they were in the same position not long ago. I have a saying that to be seen is to be changed. As a student who has utilized the tutoring center a lot during my college math classes, they made the subjects I struggled with seem not so scary. Every tutor I've worked with is always kind and supportive and is never judgmental. They take the time to explain things in multiple ways and adapt to your learning style. During finals week, they host a study after sunset where students can come to the tutoring center and they are open until 9 p.m. to help students pass their classes even after the campus has closed. Next slide, please. PVCC is known for our student engagement on campus. With over 40 student-led clubs and organizations, students can find a club that fits their niche. We promote student engagement with weekly campus events such as Pa's Birthday, the STEAM Halloween Party, our Veterans Barbecue, Fuel for Finals, and more. We are continually growing our campus community. This year, we welcome the Accounting Society and Cybersecurity Club to our campus, with many more clubs working on chartering for the spring semester. Next slide, please. The diverse community on campus is thriving in good civil discourse and civic engagement. PV is avid about student rights and free speech. We have clubs with opposing views, such as Student Christian Association and Occult Club, or the Young Republicans and Young Democrats. Our students have given each other the opportunity to collaborate and share spaces despite their differing views. We hold space for each other and listen to viewpoints with little to no hesitation. Our Student Leadership Council works hard to make sure every student is heard and valued on campus, no matter their background or belief. Next slide, please. We all love to hear what's going well on each college campus, but it's important to note not everything is perfect. After working closely with our students on campus and reflecting on our own experiences as students, we have an ask for the governing board. Our students have a lot of classes they need to take to graduate, and more often than not, it's hard to find classes that will fit our schedules. Most of our classes on campus are in one of 4 time slots: 9 a.m. to 11:45, 10 a.m. to 12:45, 12:30 p.m. to 2:45, and 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Now, while this may seem like a broad spectrum, this schedule is built to fit faculty needs, not students. The higher you get into your education, the more difficult it is to put together your schedule. We would like support in modifying class time availability to better accommodate students' busy lives. When a wider variety of class times are available, it would allow students to build a schedule that fits their needs and schedules. An example of this would be providing 3 to 4 different professor options and then having each professor teach 2 to 3 different time blocks, such as Tuesday, Thursday, 9 a.m. to 10:15 and 10:30 to 11:45. Then a Monday, Wednesday from 9 a.m. to 11:15 or 10:15 and 10:30 to 11:45. Then another professor could teach Tuesday, Thursday, 12 p.m. to 1:15 and 1:30 p.m. to 2:45, and so on and so forth. With the implementation of a variety of class times and availability, it also allows students to complete their degrees quicker without having to find courses they need at a different campus, further extending their degree timeline with Maricopa Community Colleges. Before we wrap up, PVCC would like to present a gift to the governing board. Inside each bag, you'll find a ceramic bowl made from students in the ceramics program and Clay Club at PVCC, as well as a t-shirt from our MIS program, another example of student-led engagement, providing concerts year-round for students and the community. In addition to some blue gumballs and mints to showcase the infamous PVCC Blue and Puma Pride. We'd also like to extend an invitation to the governing board to attend Pastries with the President on Saturday, December 6th from 9 to 10 a.m. We will also be hosting Festival of Tales directly after, where the governing board can see our students at work with the community. You'll find a small info sheet underneath your baskets about the Festival and Tales. Thank you for your time and consideration. We hope you have a happy and safe Thanksgiving.
Thank you very much. Let me see if the governing board has questions. Questions for Harvey?
I have a question.
Ms. Davis?
Have you considered some evening classes for students that may not come to school during the day?
Yes, we do. In fact, thank you for your question. We do have evening classes available. However, they are not widely popular. They are popular with our returning adult students, but they often run 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. and there's only usually one available per week.
Okay, thank you.
Questions, Ms. Sullivan?
I wanted to thank you for your presentation. It was delightful. I just wanted to share that several of my friends have been attending the theatrical activities on your campus and others, and they come back and tell me they are the absolute best that they've seen in the Valley. And I know Scott still does the same thing, and I know if you, okay, so anyway, but they're really enjoying them. Wanted to thank you. And then to your concern, I'm sure that there are other ears besides ours that would appreciate that conversation. And maybe you could, and your team could think up a way to have that dialogue in something that could be constructive. Thank you for sharing that with us though, but I know there are a lot of people who have an interest in meeting student needs so we can ensure that they have a good outcome. So thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions?
Yeah, I have a question and a comment. Yes, go the Festival of attend. It's a great program. It's really what we talk about when we talk about community college. It is really where we bring in the community to the campus. So please attend this Saturday, next Saturday. So it sounds to me that some of the concerns with the students at Paradise Valley is just kind of timelines. And I know the Tutoring After Dark is it called. Is there anything else that we can do to better support as a board to better support the students and the work that you and the leadership are doing?
Another concern that, as thank you for your question, another concern that is brought to my attention via these students is transportation. Our students love taking classes at other campuses, but a lot of them struggle with the Phoenix transportation system, as you all know. It is reliable, but it's not always quick. The Student Leadership Council and Student Senate has the idea of implementing a shuttle system across all 10 Maricopa Community College campuses to allow programs to be taken across campus. So the accounting program at PV versus the radiology program at Gateway. So that is another concern that's brought to students. It would just be a lot of support from the board. The Student Senate is currently working on, as well as PV, what the logistics of that would look like.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Great presentation, particularly since apparently there were supposed to be others and you showed up. And that's what counts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Before I move on to the other reports, I do want to introduce the newest member of the admin team, the new CEO of the foundation, Julie Dunnigan. Welcome. And some of us met her at the recent Heroes Gala, but I wanted to make sure to acknowledge that she was here, and we're glad to have you. So. Now on to the Faculty Executive Council report. Stacy, welcome.
Okay, President Bittersmith, members of the board, Dr. Gonzalez, members of the Shared Governance Executive Council and guests, my name is Stacy Smith. I'm residential faculty member at Paradise Valley Community College and the Faculty Executive Council president. Tonight, I want to share a message of gratitude. I am 6 months in as FEC president, and here is what I know for certain. Faculty are wonderfully challenging. We are inquisitive. We ask tough questions. We push for clarity, for fairness, for student-centered decisions. And I've witnessed how deeply we care. I've also seen the power of connection. Earlier this month, I had the opportunity to attend the first faculty celebration honoring emeriti and newly appointed tenured faculty members. It was a lovely evening at Mesa Community College with smiles all around as governing board members, Dr. Linda Thor and Ms. Donna Davis, as well as Chancellor Gonzalez, several college presidents, and lots of family and friends celebrated faculty service and accomplishments. I really left that evening feeling full of gratitude to be part of honoring faculty in such a special way. So I hope that can continue. Matt Jolly, FEC president-elect, and I have been traveling around the Valley for faculty office hours, where we've had a chance to participate in robust conversations about what's happening at the colleges, at the district, and in higher education. These experiences too remind me that connection is something to be grateful for, and that we must practice intentionally, even in these times of uncertainty. I've also witnessed the beauty of collaboration. So Jason Rich, staff representation co-president, and I recently participated in a fireside chat with the Maricopa Leadership Institute. We had the opportunity to collectively share our experiences as shared governance leaders, what we've learned, the challenges we faced, and the most weird request we ever received. That was an interesting conversation. It was a wonderful afternoon at Gateway Community College, and I was really grateful to have this opportunity and others like it to really connect with others and collaborate with my peers. And lastly, what I'm most grateful for is this opportunity right here to represent faculty who stand with and guide students through some of the most important moments of their lives, whether in classrooms, labs, studios, libraries, counseling offices, or in non-traditional ways, such as providing holiday gifts for foster youth, support for scholarships and emergency needs, and giving to United Way. Faculty provide knowledge, encouragement, and sometimes a steady hand when a student needs it most. So tonight I want to say this, faculty, because of you, I have grown in 6 months a lot. You have challenged me, supported me, inspired me, and remind me daily why this work matters. And I look forward to the next 6 months of service to you, to our students, and to the district. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Stacy? Nope. Thank you very much.
One quick
Oh, I'm
question.
sorry.
Yeah, no.
Dr.
I
Reed.
was just thinking in light of what the students were just talking about, would it be appropriate for maybe the students, if they have some concerns, like, again, with the scheduling and things, to to present to the faculty senate to just so that everybody can be on the same page about how the schedules work and all these things
Yeah,
and some of their concerns.
definitely. We can have that conversation, maybe bring together the stakeholders that it makes sense. I know some work in that space is being done at PV, and so hopefully we can talk more. So we'll have to reach out. Well, Mike, maybe I'll reach out to you and you can connect me with Harvey and we'll go from there. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Narini. Okay, now on to the adjunct faculty report. Kim? There she is. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. To President Bittersmith, governing board members, Chancellor Gonzalez, members of the Shared Governance Executive Council, and guests tonight. Since our last meeting, we've had a leadership change in our adjunct faculty group. Christina Gerges, our current VP of Administration, is going to be stepping down, and this led to a new addition for our leadership team. Marie Thurl, who has been our VP of Elections and Order, will be moving into the VP of Administration role. And I'm pleased to announce that Mary Broding from Estrella Mountain is going to be our new VP of Elections. The way that we handle things in the adjunct faculty group is we promote from within, as it were, or we nominate from within, because we feel that it brings more to the leadership team to have the experience of being a rep and understand what the job entails. Mary self-nominated, and she was unanimously voted in by the board. And I will say Christina Gerges served 5 years in the AFG, both as a rep and as VP, and she was instrumental in shaping the AFG into the group we have today. She just did an amazing amount of work. We're going to miss her greatly. We're excited for her new opportunities. She's also having knee surgery, so she's going to have a little bit of downtime. But we're also looking forward to Mary's contribution in leadership, and we think she's just going to be great. I wanted to highlight also that in addition to my rep work, I also still help out at my home college. I still serve, I've attended several events at Phoenix College in the last couple of weeks. One of them being the VPAA forums and also the Achieving the Dream Capacity Cafe. The VPAA forums let us meet the candidates for VPA and hear their ideas and their understanding of the role. I'm very pleased that Adriana Coronel will be our permanent VPAA. She was instrumental to me when I started as an adjunct rep, and I was absolutely clueless 5 years ago. And she and Patty Finkenstadt both helped mentor me in my role. So I'm really happy to see that she has moved into that. The Capacity Cafe that we did was, or that the college put on, was a brainstorming and visioning session in which we discussed ideas and opportunities for better implementing the Achieving the Dream program. And it was interesting and instrumental in understanding how we can better serve our students. I also I stayed involved with Phoenix College's Academic Interest Council as a tri-chair. And we recently completed our review of SPOL proposals for funding requests for the next year, which is always an interesting situation. For those of you who aren't familiar with our process, we review all the proposals, we rank them, and then we zipper them between all of the different interest councils and not argue, but rather try to discuss about why something has the weight to be at the top of the list to be funded for things that come along. So it's given me a great amount of understanding into how the college works and helps me in understanding and giving information to my other reps as well. At our most recent AFG board meeting on November 8th, we discussed how we want to direct our efforts in the coming year to benefit our adjunct faculty. A major focus will be to reach out to our CTLs for training in how we can help to provide for our adjuncts a better understanding of Panorama and comply with the Title II accessibility issues. PVCC is already doing a great job with that, and we want to roll that out with the rest of our colleges as well. In addition to helping meet this April deadline, we're continuing to work to increase the involvement of all the adjuncts in campus committees and opportunities, because we're realizing that there are adjunct faculty who aren't reps, but still would like to be involved on different committees or in different implementation of ideas. We also plan to see how we can continue to increase our knowledge of AI information so that we can share with our adjunct faculty different up-to-date information about that, as this topic is rapidly expanding and everybody's a little bit boggled by it all. So we want to make sure that we are keeping on the edge of that. Lastly, I have a couple of updates from some of the work of our reps at PVCC. Elizabeth Stuff is doing a podcast, And this week was her first podcast, and it came out great. We're excited for her with that, and it's going to be a great program. They're going to be sharing Tuesday tips and other information at Gateway, or actually, no, at Chandler Gilbert, not Gateway. Danette Turner was asked by campus leadership to present on professional growth with the tiers system. And she's now going to have a monthly open night mics for adjuncts, and we'll highlight a different topic each time. And at Scottsdale Community College, Pat Serrano and Brenda Horn have a training planned on tiers program and AFPG. So our reps are continuing to do good work on their campuses. Thank you again for the opportunity to share the work of our group and for all your continued support. And I wish everybody a peaceful and gratitude-filled Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Kim. Questions? Any questions? Kim?
All right.
Seeing none.
Thank
Thank you very much. And now we're going to move on to the staff representation update. Jason and Tony, welcome.
President Bittersmith, members of the board, Chancellor Gonzalez, Shared Governance Council, Executive Council, and honored guests. Tonight, we're going to present to you, next slide, we'll get on there, that we've actually successfully elected our next exempt co-president. We'll make that announcement next week. And then we are moving on to the staff representation 2.0. We're actually reimagining what we can be as far as a group and trying to restructure it to be a little more agile than what we have now. From there, I'm going to let Jason take over.
All right, so a real big goal of the staff representation 2.0 is take what we've learned in the last 5 years since we were founded and improve to be more effective and efficient, while still doing the same mission that we're doing now. Some examples, some of the things we've been working on is we've been working with we have an employee benefits and an employee compensation advisory committees, working on getting those aligned. And this is something that's involving faculty and staff and administration about really figuring out how do we become more efficient in those efforts. And it's just an example of some of the committee work that we're involved in the district. We also wanted to highlight that for the first time in several years that there was an NAU cohort. And so we had a bunch of faculty and staff go through that, and we'll be having 12 employees receiving their masters in educational leadership this upcoming month. And our own April Rowland, our previous co-president, is in that group and will be actually speaking on behalf at the ceremony. So we wanted to highlight that great work that's happening to grow our own inside. And now we're going to move on to our Paradise Valley Community College Spotlight, and I'm going to welcome up our reps from Paradise Valley.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jordan Bates, and I work at PVCC in the Buxton Library, and I'm a first-year representative. One of the things that we wanted to talk to you about today, if you could go to the next slide, please. This is us and the rest of our group.
Yeah, so I am Seth Askelson. I am a senior analyst in our marketing and communications department, as well as a first-year representative. Here with Jordan and I tonight are our fellow staff representatives, Co-Senator Whitley Abrams, a library specialist, Co-Senator Georgianne Stoll from Curriculum and Scheduling, and Staff Representative Brenna Stein, the Program Manager of Dual Enrollment. Next slide, please. We are starting an exciting time at PVCC as we close in on the end of the first semester of Paradise 4.0. With our 40th anniversary celebration slated for the 2026-2027 school year, we are thinking about what the future of Paradise is. While we are always trying to be on the forefront of all aspects of higher education, Paradise 4.0 also honors what we have accomplished as we set new goals for the next decade. One big part of Paradise 4.0 has been our Rise, Roar, Repeat campaign. During this fall and continuing into the spring, our students, staff, and faculty have worn their Puma Blue every Monday to show our Puma pride and bring a new sense of joy for what is happening at PVCC. As you can tell, that pride is not restricted to just Mondays. Our staff representatives have worn blue, and just as she's a leader at PVCC in many things, our president, Dr. Janice Schwartz, is at the forefront of our Puma Blue attire.
We would also like to take some time to talk about the Unlocking Opportunity Network. This is a new initiative that PVCC is one of 3 Maricopa colleges to be included in. It's a part of the Aspen Institute's College Excellence Program. And so the idea of this program is working with this institute to reform some of our programs to become a more high value pathways in the modern era. So it's looking at certain degree pathways that we have, looking at bachelor's transitions to make those lead to more successful pathways for students. And additionally, I want to take some time to reiterate what our student representative said. Festival of Tales is the following Saturday, December 6th. And just to give a little bit more context to the point that Dr. Tom Nerney said about the community involvement, over the past years of the program since 2009, 17,000 people have attended, and we've given out 40,000 free books to students throughout the time. And so it's a really successful program, and we're really excited about it. We would love to see you there. Thank you.
Great. Are there questions for the team? Great presentation, by the way. Thank you. Questions? Nope. It's always good. There's a round of applause.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Wonderful. Okay, our next report is the Chancellor's report. And Dr. Gonzalez, I know you have a number of things, plus you have some people to do presentations. So I'm going to turn the microphone to you.
Thank you, President Bittersmith, members of the governing board, members in the audience, including our faculty, staff, students, and administration, and any guests from our community. We welcome you here tonight. So I just want to let you know that starting officially in January, I'm going to be making a small but meaningful shift in how I provide updates to the board. You've seen some elements of this shift already in some of the previous board meetings. I want to ensure that you receive the most direct and comprehensive insight into our system-wide work. I will be decreasing the depth of my own operational reports, but in their place, I will be inviting our leaders to share focused project updates on major initiatives that impact Maricopa and align with our strategic priorities. Hearing directly from the individuals leading this work will provide clearer visibility into our progress, challenges, and outcomes. I believe this adjustment will strengthen transparency, enhance collaboration, and give you a more complete picture of the initiatives that matter most to our students, employees, and community. So with the modified approach of formally beginning in January of 2026, you will receive a presentation on Aspen Unlocking Opportunities, featuring the work of 3 of our colleges. It was actually mentioned here by our PV official. In February, we will provide an update on the Student Lifecycle Management Initiative, and additional topics will follow in alignment with system priorities and our strategic plan. I will also ask you if there are ever any topics that you might want to specifically hear about, and we'll be happy to accommodate those requests. This evening, I'm going to be inviting Dr. Hernandez to provide a quarterly update on our strategic planning efforts, followed by an update by Dr. Smith and Ms. Jones on our micro-credential initiative. So, Dr. Hernandez.
Welcome.
Good evening. President Bittersmith, members of the board, Chancellor Gonzalez, members of Executive Council, and guests. I'm Dr. Kathy Hernandez, Associate Vice Chancellor for Enterprise Performance and Chief of Staff in the Office of the Chancellor. And I also currently serve as the Tri-Chair for Strategic Planning Steering Team in partnership with Dr. Daniel from Mesa Community College and Megan McGuire, who's a faculty member at Mesa Community College and our Faculty Executive Council representative. I'm pleased to present this evening's quarterly strategic plan update, and it will be very brief and focused on primarily process. As Dr. Gonzalez has indicated, we'll also have a project update for you this evening. Next slide, please. We have several planning efforts underway. We continue to build momentum on Excellence 2026 as we are halfway through year 3. In October, the board retired the original set of strategic priorities and approved the Chancellor's vision statements as the new Maricopa strategic priorities. Not only will these carry us through the remainder of year 3, but also will move us into the new strategic plan that will launch in July of 2026. With this shift, the existing work from Excellence 2026 has also been realigned to reflect the updated direction, and we are working with district marketing team to make necessary revision for publication. In keeping with our reporting cadence, we also have efforts underway to gather updates on year 3 progress, and a mid-year report is in development. The report will be provided to the board in January. In addition to the current plan, we are also advancing preparations for the next Maricopa strategic plan scheduled to launch in July. Next slide, please. This slide highlights just a few of the key systemic efforts underway as a result of our work under Excellence 2026. While not exhaustive, these represent areas where substantive progress and momentum are occurring. The approach shared by the Chancellor will enable us to provide more focused and detailed updates on some of this work. This evening, we'll hear updates around micro-credentialing, and I expect that several of the other initiatives on this slide will be scheduled for future updates to the board as well. Next slide, please. Shifting away from Excellence 2026 for just a moment, I want to provide a brief update on planning for the next strategic plan 2026 through 2030. On November 18th, members of the Shared Governance Executive Council and planning leaders from each of the 10 colleges convened to begin brainstorming and developing goals for strategic priorities, college-going behavior, technology, workforce, and community impact. That work is being consolidated for further discussion with the Executive Council in January, where we expect to reach consensus on the key goals that will advance momentum in achieving these priorities. Simultaneously, efforts are underway to identify key outcomes and metrics that will measure success for each of the priorities and its associated goals. Additional information will be shared with the board and college communities following this work, as the colleges will begin aligning their strategic planning to these efforts in the spring. Next slide, please. This last slide is simply a prompt for memory. Excellence 2026 Year 1 called for Maricopa to expand system-wide micro-credentialing to meet workforce needs. Although we've continued to evolve the plan and this work may not be specifically noted in the plan for Year 3 any longer, the efforts have continued, and we will hear more about them this evening from our next presenters. Next slide, please. That concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there questions for Kathy? No? And Dr. Gonzalez?
Thank you, Dr. Hernandez. Dr. Smith and Ms. Jones, please come on up to the podium and tell us more about micro-credentials.
All right, thank you so much. Good evening, President Bittersmith. Sorry, I'm about to laugh because Valerie and I just kept joking about who's going to have to say all of those things and get it right. So good evening. I will start over. President Bittersmith, members of the board, Chancellor Gonzalez, our Shared Governance Executive Council, and guests. I am Kate Smith. I serve as the president of Rio Salado College, and I am joined by my esteemed colleague, the Vice Chancellor for Workforce and Economic Development, Valerie Jones. We are honored to have a little bit of time this evening to share with you the updates on the wonderful work and exciting work that's been happening in digital micro-credentials and learning mobility across our system and across the state. And as you just heard from Associate Vice Chancellor Hernandez, that this started under, or this was embedded in Excellence 2026 under Goal 2.3, but will continue under Goal 2.1.b. And with that, next slide, please.
Excellent. Thank you, Kate. Having recently been a member of our industry as an executive for Bank of America, I know firsthand how important micro-credentials are to the workforce. It's been incredibly exciting to now kind of flip the script and serve on the academic side, because the work that we're doing within micro-credentials at Maricopa is specifically in partnership with industry. We're creating micro-credentials to help close the skills gaps and needs that the workforce has. And I know we talk about it a lot, but it cannot be understated how the industry is shifting from traditional academic pathways, taking students directly out of the four-year schools, and really shifting to shorter term micro-credentials focused on skills-based hiring. And I will say maybe not every organization is there yet, but my last job at the bank was working with partner organizations across 10 states and 31 community colleges, and every one of those organizations have the focus on micro-credentials. So it's exciting to see that Maricopa is there, and I think we're doing a really great job. One of the things about micro-credentials that I think is so important to industry is the need for quicker education options. Micro-credentials give you an opportunity to build technical and durable skills pretty rapidly, which means that you can then come into the workforce, but they also give a pathway for continued education. They can stack on top of one another and stack on industry credentials, which is one of the things that I worked on specifically during my Leader on Loan assignment. These things together are a focus for industry, not only for workers coming in from the colleges, but also for our incumbent workers. So there was an initiative with Bank of America where we actually sent some of our current employees into Scottsdale Community College to get a certification. And it's really what drove some monies that I'll talk about in a while from the bank into Maricopa to continue this work. Next slide, please. I attended an industry, a micro-credential conference. And what was interesting for me at that time was they talked about how micro-credentials are a bit of the Wild West, because it is still pretty new, both for education and for industry. But we tried to make it really simple on this slide, what micro-credentials mean. So micro-credentials are shorter than traditional degrees. They verify, validate, and attest that specific skills and competencies have been achieved. All micro-credentials are built in tandem with industry partners. And then these badges have been created, and Kate will talk a little bit about this in a moment, but they're created so that industry, recruiters, executives can easily identify through the badges on LinkedIn, and now even on resumes. You'll see them kind of embedded on resumes, that they have that particular micro-credential.
Next slide, please. Okay, so what you're seeing up here is a strong example of collaboration between our district office, our colleges, marketing, and workforce to define a standard badge icon. And this group, in addition to coming to consensus on what the icons will look like, also adopted a system-wide badging platform. On the right side of the screen, you will see that they also defined what the icons for the durable skills badges will look like. And so durable skills may have been known before as soft skills, as 21st century skills. Now we call them durable skills. And we have heard from employers for decades now that these skills are of prime importance to what they're hoping our graduates, our learners will bring into the workforce. And so these were developed with the idea of being almost in an open education resource way, where faculty can take them and embed them in their curriculum as they have content that matches the requirements for that skill level, and identify it and help our learners with greater success as they move into the workforce. Next slide, please. So on this slide, you have an excellent example. Thank you, Chandler Gilbert, from their data analytics micro pathway. So on the left side of the screen, what you're seeing are the different micro credentials that students can earn, that then when you take them all together, they lead to the data analytics micro credential pathway badge, which is the one in the middle. As you will note, every single one of those micro-credential pathway badges has been, all the skills in there have been validated by regional employers, and that is a key component of our micro-credential work to ensure that they are meaningful, timely, and relevant for what employers need. You will also see at the bottom of the screen the durable badges that are required as part of that pathway. On the right side of the screen, then you see how this stacking works from credential pathways to associate degrees, bachelor's degrees, and the associated wage and livable wage income that goes along with it. Next slide, please. And finally, we were able to take a pilot program and build it out to all 10 of the colleges offering micro-credentials. You can see examples of the micro-credentials that have been awarded, with the highest amount having been awarded to the behavioral science and healthcare micro-credential. And up next, Valerie will share a little bit more about that workforce professional skills badge. Next, okay, next slide.
Next slide. So exciting, 2,810 digital badges issued. That's incredible. It's incredible for our students and it's incredible for our employers. The Workforce Professional Skills Badge was built and was being implemented and offered to our students. And recently, you may have seen the news article, Maricopa County picked it up as an opportunity for their employees to actually get workplace professional skills. So it's free, non-credit, it's micro-credential, and it's really just a demonstration that these micro-credentials are important in education, in government, and in industry. So I think we'll continue to see that trend as we build more micro-credentials. But most exciting, I just want to talk a little bit about some of the work that's currently underway. So I mentioned the Bank of America. As we were working with Scottsdale Community College, we realized that the certification in and of itself wasn't enough. Yes, they had a certification, they could check that off the list, but when they came into the interview, they didn't quite have the skill set that we needed to partner alongside that credential to help them differentiate themselves in the selection process. And so Bank of America gave $50,000 to Maricopa to help build what we're calling a service and sales micro-credential. The intent of this will be that kind of overlay of skills that in partnership should create a great opportunity for those students to get hired, not only at Bank of America, but any wealth management firm will be particularly of interest to this, but really it's sales and service. So any sales or service environment will also benefit. The other thing that money is going to do is it's going to put the micro-credential on a national platform, because that was really important to the bank, that it not just be available for our Maricopa and Arizona students, but really make it available so that, again, not only Bank of America, but it can be leveraged across the country. So that's what that $50,000 is going to pay for. On the consent agenda tonight, you will see a donation of $465,000 from Fidelity. That money is also intended to support micro-credentials. And we collectively, between academic affairs and Rio, we're just super excited about these dollars, because it's affirmation that these micro-credentials are needed in industry, they're valued in industry, and I hope and expect that more organizations, as we are partnering with them on the workforce side, will continue to give us feedback on how we continue to create other micro-credentials that might be needed in other sectors.
Thank you. And next slide, please. So what this work is leading into, or is part of, and you will see this up on this slide, is the Arizona Learning Mobility Collaborative. You know, we're hearing as we're seeing the skills-based hiring economy growing, we understand the importance of making these skills visible and the earning of these skills visible. So I want to give a huge shout out to this Learning Mobility Collaborative that is a statewide initiative to create a more integrated, learner-centered education and employment system that leverages digital credentials. This work is really about creating more seamless pathways between higher ed and workforce, because we believe the future of education is not 2 years or 4 years of school and then career. We know this from the World Economic Forum and many sources, that education is now going to be education, work, and much more seamless and integrated. And so the Arizona Learning Mobility Collaborative has formed to really put time and effort into how we as a state can address this. So you will see the statewide partners are AC4, the Arizona Board of Regents, Strata Education Foundation, the Education Design Lab, and the Trusted Learner Network, hosted out of ASU. Next slide, please. So this, the collaborative has completed phase 1, and out of phase 1, you can see what the vision is that they have created. Empower Arizonans, particularly those with the highest barriers to education and employment opportunities, to connect attained incremental credentials, i.e. micro-credentials, to educational and workplace opportunity for learning mobility. And you can see from the icons below all the populations that this work is really going to support in empowering them with digital credentials, digital wallets, and providing greater opportunity for all of our learners and our employers and employees. So with that, oh wait, don't go to the next slide yet. I almost forgot. I meant to call out that the team that is leading this work on behalf of Maricopa is Janelle Elias, Daniel Barajas, Becky Baranowski, and Rose Rojas. And we're very excited for future updates as they are heading into phase 2, which is termed the prototype and innovate phase. And with that, next slide, please, which says, thank you. Not sure why. Thank you very much.
I'm confident there are questions. Before I do that, I'm going to take one prerogative because I've been crisscrossing the country the last month at stupid conferences, the word stupid being operative, except that and every single one of those range from the American Society of Association Executives to the U.S. Chamber to a cable television conference. All of those were focused at least a single session on micro-credentialing. So it is a thing, very much so, as you already know. And at least in one meeting, I said something about Maricopa. I did not have to explain to the CEOs that were sitting in the U.S. Chamber meeting what Maricopa does. So I thought that you would find that.
Well, and that's all our
encouraging.
faculty, all our staff, all the support. So
But-
kudos to everybody.
But our reputation is there for being inventive, and we have at least an anticipated lead in micro-credentialing. So just anecdotal response. So with that, let me ask board members. Ms. Sullivan, you had questions?
Just a couple comments. Sorry, couple comments. First of all, congratulations on all this great work. It takes me back a lot of years. Valerie, you probably know that with my own background. The maturing of this industry sector has been tremendous. And maybe even with Dr. Thor, when we worked together, when was that, 19? Yeah, okay. A number of years ago in this whole modeling of how did you integrate education and credentials, we were taking baby steps and thought it was remarkable. And now we're seeing adults. I mean, it's grown from infancy into adulthood. So I wanted to congratulate you for taking the lead in maturing this. The other image I have in my mind is being a Girl Scout and wearing a sash with badges, you know, and how many badges could you accumulate and as you went on. And I'm thinking of that visual of how many badges can Maricopa wear on a sash. But more importantly, with the articles I've been reading about workforce development in this sector, particularly, there is some, I don't mean to be stepping into dangerous territory here, but some political implications to the emphasis in many people's minds as a, I don't want to say a threat. I mean, I see ABOR on here and others, but the risk to community college learning or places in relationship with universities on such a strong emphasis on this micro-credentialing model as an education pathway, with many articles refuting the idea that this really is an encouragement to continue into degrees, et cetera. Can you talk about a little bit about how with this work you're walking through gently or tiptoeing through that political framework? It's very popular, but there is also that threat, a perceived threat into traditional higher education in this model.
So I'll start and then Kate will probably have way more to offer, but I agree. I hear it. I'm not quite as close to the academic side, but what I will say is as we're doing this work, it is a collaborative effort internally. So Meredith Warner on the academic affairs side, we've got colleges involved. I think the fact that there are so many external entities brings credence to it, but how we do it specifically at Maricopa, I think is going to be very, it could raise questions, right, around where does a degree need to come in and how do they stack? There's probably not a simple right answer to it other than we need to have it all, right? There's, you can create all the micro credentials and all the associates and bachelors and masters, and it's still not going to be enough for the workforce. So the best that we can do is hope that we can educate students in a way that gets them on that path. And then the intent would be then use your company's tuition assistance to continue to grow. Because it's not that there's no place for education, there absolutely is. But a lot of those entry level jobs, it's just not required right away. But I would say most organizations feel strongly that education is critical. And as you continue to grow up, as you go back to that slide where Kate's showing the increases in responsibility roles and salary, it comes with it additional educational attainment. And so this is a start, but it's in tandem with growth.
And I applaud that. I'm not being critical of it. I was just curious how that is being addressed, because I don't think that conversation is going to go away. And staying at the forefront of that, working in those collaborative models, I think is critically important. And also, again, I think it was today I read, or yesterday, I read an article about the idea again of where the Department of Education is being dismantled, but Labor Department hasn't been as successful in picking up the shift. And what we're talking about here is really, again, that more collaborative experience between the two, and refusing one and to enhance another is really kind of a dangerous proposition, right? And so working through that, I think, is important. And I applaud Maricopa for being a leader in this space. And Valerie, your experience at Bank of America was certainly valuable, and appreciate that work that Bank of America has always done in this space as a leader. So anyway, great job. And I want to wear a badge. I mean, a sash, so, with lots of badges. Anyway, thank you for your work in this space.
Ms. Bittersmith, may I just add on to that? I think it's really important to point out that the latest report from the World Economic Forum shows that 60% of all jobs will need reskilling and upskilling within the next 5 years. That's not going back for an associate's, a bachelor's, a master's, or a PhD. So I think that as people understand how our world is changing and the world of work is changing, it's not devaluing any of that. As Valerie said so eloquently, it is all needed. But I think our 4-year, I'm on a board with several 4-years, and they're figuring it out just like us.
Right.
And they are moving into the workforce, Pell, just like us. So I think as people recognize that, that does away with some of the other noise, because it's just the reality that we're heading into in the future. And that 60% is up from 50% 2 years ago. Yeah. So I think in 2 more years, it might be 70% of all jobs. So thank you so much for letting me just add that in.
No, thank you.
Dr. Thor?
Thank you. I have a couple questions. But first, thank you for this fascinating presentation. It's very, very exciting. My first question relates to the slide that's on the screen right now. One of the components is commercialization, and the explanation is expand non-academic provider offerings. Can you give us some examples of what is included in a non-academic provider offering?
Be like it.
That would be, there's probably a lot of ways people would define that. I think for me, it's those industry credentials, some things that you don't necessarily come to an academic provider to get, right? There are some skills, and actually in tandem with Scottsdale Community College, we are creating that SIE that has historically been a FINRA regulated certification. We're building a micro credential for it. So there's opportunity to take what exists in the industry, even if it's not currently simply an academic offering or a durable skill, and create opportunities where industry tells us we need more of that. Here's what we do today. How can we partner?
Could it also be a nonprofit? I mean, I'm thinking about what Fresh Start does with some of the durable skill place. For example, I was just pulling them out of my hat. The workforce boards, I mean, how they're trying to frame that.
Absolutely. I mean, that's kind of some of the beauty is also as we think about, you know, the future with non-credit and credit for prior learning, how we can merge some of these into more meaningful and intentional pathways.
Mhm.
Because again, every micro credential is stackable towards a degree of some type and a livable, sustaining whatever, family sustaining wages opportunities. Wow. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
And thank you for asking the question about the federal government. I was going to ask that as well, but instead I'll ask, so how are our students learning about these micro credential opportunities?
So multiple ways. Obviously through marketing channels, etc. We have some faculty that have decided to embed some of the durable skills right into their courses as optional for students to complete. And we're hearing feedback from students that they're finding, we did have a slide, we hit it, of what students were actually saying about this and how they're both learning about them and the success that they're having. But they're reporting back that it's helping them in job interviews, in obtaining jobs. It gives them, it differentiates them in the competitive market. And so they're finding out about it through faculty members, they're on websites, employers are sharing the information. It really depends what the micro credential is and who the employer partners are at the table, because they do have to be at the table as we develop these. And so then it's more of a joint effort. Yep.
The only other thing I would share is that earlier this week, we were looking at models from other community college systems and ASU. So ASU has a pretty fancy way of sharing their micro credentials, Dallas College. And so for us, we're not quite there yet. I think we're trying to institutionalize it and make sure that everyone's on board and bringing everyone along. But there are some really great examples of how they can be marketed, how, especially when a micro credential is virtual, non-credit, someone can go out, click onto a website, take and earn a micro credential. So I think we have a long runway to be able to offer more opportunities. So I'm excited to see where it will go. Yeah.
Ms. Smith?
Thank you for your presentation. First question, for the 2,800 badges listed in the table, were all of those free to the learner, or did they pay to earn the badge?
So it does depend on which badge that they're earning. So I should also clarify, there are non-credit and credit bearing pathways and micro credentials, both. Credit bearing, obviously students are paying the rates that they would to earn that credential. Actually, same with non-credential. What does happen with a lot of these learners, though, is those may be being paid by their employer. So through tuition assistance programs. Mm-hmm. They're not being offered for free unless they're the durable skills that get embedded into one of the credentials.
Mm-hmm. And then for the Bank of America sponsored one, can you share a little more about how that micro credential fits? And in a sense, is that one offered as a course? I'm having trouble understanding that one in particular.
So we're in the process of building it. The money came in just a couple months ago, and our team will start it up on in December. The intent will be that I think there's the list of about 12 competencies. So communication, listening. So Ed Design Lab is helping us with this. We're going to build each one of those components and put it into a micro credential. So let's say a student goes through the SIE course. As part of that course, the instructor will say, we've heard from industry that if you do this non-credit micro credential as you are completing this the certification, then when we connect you with employers, you're going to stand out for these reasons. And then we bring companies in to validate that with the students. So in this particular course, we bring employers in to say, hey, exciting you're doing the SIE. If you do this on top of it, those are the skills that we're looking for. And here's how you can differentiate yourself in an interview process. So it's kind of, you take the 3 or the 4 hour credit course, then you take the non-credit online component, which will be the sales and service. And then you combine those two.
Mm-hmm. So it is potentially an asynchronous online offering that students would do self-paced. Am I getting that right?
That is the plan today.
Okay.
As part of the build, we are going back out and bringing in an industry advisory team made up of organizations from across the country to help influence and help us to build that help us inform that. So when we originally talked about it, it's what I shared. Could it adapt based on what the industry partners tell us? Absolutely.
And in this case, it's non-credit, so there is no charge. So any student who wants to do it. So part of what I'm also thinking about as we're in this moment of thinking about diversifying revenue in the district is, to what extent are micro-credentials part of our revenue generation strategy and how, while also balancing the important desire to be upskilling a broader population of students. So just wanted you to know that's part of what I wanted to make sure I understood is who pays and how much and how does that work. Shifting gears, is there a plan to evaluate employer satisfaction of those learners that hold the credential like longitudinally? And if so, what is that plan? And can we ask Strata to fund some of that?
You can talk about the funding. The intent will be to continue to validate with industry. In fact, the workforce professional skills badge, we actually got some feedback from a very specific niche company targeted organization that yes, and so we just had a conversation today on how we get into the workforce professional skills and add some of the add components of feedback from the company that we're getting, or do we do a version 2? And so you like a stackable workforce professional skills based specifically on that company's feedback. So I think it's still new enough that we have a lot of flexibility, but we talked today about incorporating that feedback, and I don't know where we're going to go with it, but we are 100% sharing with industry. I think the county is going to be really excited in the workforce professional skills because that will be an instantaneous feedback loop. So the intent will be to take that and then decide how we want to incorporate it. But it'll be iterative in every case. I don't think they'll ever be just static.
My final comment, part of what I'm still wrapping my head around in all of this is how to associate rigor with badges. And so in order for these badges to carry currency in the market, we need to enable the learners with the stats, such as 5 years down the line, X number of employers state that they are satisfied, something pithier than that. Clearly I'm not the marketing one, but what is it that people are putting on their resume? Because some employers especially if they personally know you or they personally know Bank of America is associated with it, they will associate that badge with rigor. But my fear is that unless we can attribute that rigor and provide that proof, then we're not actually empowering our learners to make their next step. So please feel free to comment on that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Board Member Smith. So I have so many thoughts to that, so to condense them down, because I love the questions and the thinking. Yes, part of the design that we've adopted from Education Design Lab, the human-centered design thinking, it is a process where there is evaluation, there is checking back in with industry regularly, because it also, we know the pace of work is changing so fast, the pace of technology is changing so fast. So what those outcomes and requirements are for the rigor and for it to have value is also going to be changing. So we're seeing a new way of almost working just much more iteratively and quickly together with our industry partners. Additionally, I think there's a lot of opportunity nationally in this space, which is why we're working so hard to be on the front end of it, so we don't end up with something happening to us or things have shifted around us and we missed it. Because I think at some point, right, what does, a micro credential in IT something mean across the country? And so at some point, there's conversations happening nationally, and many of them, as President Bittersmith alluded to, that are really looking at, so how do we now take this? Because we know this is what employers want. They're saying it everywhere. So how do they create that standard? We know what this means, and it has credibility. And then we can circle back on and have some evidence behind the satisfaction of employers in the future. Thank you.
Just as a quick follow-up to that, to Jacqueline's questions, if I might, the new 529 federal legislation, as I understand it, would allow 529 funds to help pay for some of these costs for credentialing. Now, that's relatively new federal legislation. I don't know if we've looked at that as an opportunity. We're marketing that. I don't know if the foundation has thought about how do we encompass these new opportunities and then adapt funding sources for some of those. So it's really more of a question, but I know that conversation, at least at the national level, is happening because there was a lot of groups that organized to get the federal 529 stuff passed to be more expansive than just traditional four-year degrees. So I just throw that out there. Maybe it's something to look at too, to Jacqueline's point, how do you find monies for those things that do require payment to achieve?
So I am not fully prepared to answer that, but thank you very much.
I can't answer
And-
totally either. But.
Yeah, so absolutely, we will follow up on that. And I do want to say Strata is also a great partner. We're just closing out a $1.5 million gift from Strata in our career work. They're also funding the AZ Learning Mobility Collaborative, and so they are also a great partner. But we will definitely follow up on that. Thank you.
Ms. Sullivan, and I'm sorry, Dr. Marini, I'll come back.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, no,
That's
this is great. I think this discussion is great. And I think what you presented is outstanding. And it's obvious that lots of communication needs to happen. One of my, following up on Dr. Thor's question about how do students find out about this? How do they find out? How do we reach out? My question has to do more with, a couple meetings ago, we talked about academic advising and how we're trying to reduce the student to academic advisor. How is this going to, this is going to put more burden on the academic advisors. It sounds like because there's going to be a lot more options. How are we going to better support our academic advisors to make sure that they understand this so they can better serve our students? And they're already their plate's already over full. So how are we going to better support those academic advisors?
Yeah, that's a great question, Dr. Narini. Thank you very much. So I think a few things. One, these are mapped out as part of, they're all stackable. So they're all on the same curriculum map. So some of that for advisors, that is all that is on the same map of a journey a student might be on. And we already have moved to advising by the fields of interest. So that reduces the breadth of every single option out there. Every advisor has to know all of it. They don't. They now work within their fields of interest. And so as we map this out, but it is going to continue to be iterative. And so laying the foundation of how are we continuously supporting our advisors, our admissions folks is honestly, it's ongoing all the time. So we will be very intentional in that space as well, but it won't be like a whole new field of 500 new options because they are part of a pathway.
Thank you, because I just want to make sure that our academic advisors that I know are overburdened already, make sure that we don't overburden them even more. And the other thing is, I was thinking as you were presenting this, what it can do for our incarcerated students. This was the first thing that came to mind. Like, you know, we could be preparing them for when they're released to get out into the workforce. So I think it's outstanding that you're looking forward to that.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Green. And then Ms. Sullivan.
Just last, when you mentioned the county and then the national work that's being done, are you working with the workforce boards directly?
Yes. So Daniel Barajas sits on the
Phoenix, isn't he?
Phoenix, yep. And we're working at Jason Weinstein. We're working to get him on the county. I'm getting ready to join GPEC. And this will be part of the continued conversation. And partly because we will introduce it, but in some cases it's because they're bringing it to us as well, because they're hearing from the employers,
right?
The need and the questions are coming kind of both ways.
I just, again, going back to the National Association Workforce Boards, they always thought they were picking the leaders. And I'm suggesting that given the work you're doing, if you are affiliated with them, you can take the lead, not leave it to NA.
We actually just took an inventory of all the presidents and leaders at the colleges to see how much breadth we have and leadership across Maricopa and nationally. And the goal to that is to then create what is our workforce story, and this will be part of it, so that we're all sharing the same messages, and then they're able to bring back what they're hearing as well.
Excellent. Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Other questions from board members?
President Bittersmith.
Ms. Davis.
I love this because I used to run a youth employment program in the mid 90s. And I got complaints from the employers all the time about how unprepared those youth were in their professional skills. So I really appreciate it. The other thing is my son had a 4-year degree from ASU in engineering, and then he had to go back and get a project management certificate. And my two engineers would tell, I have 2 engineers out of 3, but they would both tell you that they went from book learning to work. And they never had the hands-on stuff. So I love that this is competency-based. And so I am really excited about this and would love to do whatever I can to help with this.
Thank you very much, Board Member Davis.
Thank you both. Clearly this, I'm going another question.
No.
Clearly the board has no interest in this.
Sorry we bored you.
No, not at all. So thank you very much, Dr. Gonzalez. Thank you for this presentation. I'm going to turn it back to you.
We'll try to find a more interesting presentation topic next time. How many micro-credentials are we currently offering? Is that that's not the exhaustive list there, is it? 78. Okay, thank you. And it also makes me think about discussions around organizational structure around these as they continue to grow. So we'll be having more conversations, and I'm sure in the future we'll come back and report. So in finishing my update very quickly, I'm going to give you some more information about PV since their students were here presenting today. They have seen a 15% increase in enrollment from fall 2024. PVCC hit the highest student retention rate in over a decade for both fall to fall retention and fall to spring retention on average. PVCC is experiencing a 16% increase in enrollment year over year and a fall to fall retention rate of 57.5%. So congratulations to the team there at PV. Their music industry studies program hosted the Berklee College of Music as they considered a partnership with PVCC. Students were able to participate in clinics with the Berkeley faculty and also share all of the great things about their program. The Berkeley team was very impressed with the talent, passion, connection to the community, and the relationships between professors and students. Tonight you received the MIS t-shirts from PVCC to celebrate. So congratulations, Jana, to you and your team over at PV. You guys are doing great work. System enrollment update overall, spring 2026 headcount is up 10.8%. Spring 2025 this time at the same time. So we're 9 weeks out from the start of the spring semester, and total attempted hours is also up 10%. So not only students coming, but more students are taking more or starting to sign up for more credit hours. So good news all the way around. And as I conclude my comments here, President Bittersmith, I just want to say that during this season of Thanksgiving, I'm grateful for our students and our industry partners that have chosen to partner with us and those in the community that have chosen to partner with us. And I'm especially grateful for our faculty and staff and our administration, and to you as a governing board for being the ultimate leaders in this organization to serve our communities and the nearly 200,000 students that we serve annually. I hope that you all have a very nice Thanksgiving holiday if you celebrate it. If not, enjoy the 4-day weekend, and we will see you back next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez. Thank you also for your kind comments for all of us in the room. We appreciate that. I do not have any cards for citizens interim, and so we will move on now to the consideration of the consent agenda. All items under this section of the agenda are consent matters unless they remove from the consent agenda at this time. So do any board members or the chancellor wish to remove any items from the consent agenda? Seeing none, then is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
So moved by Ms. Selzer. Is there a second?
Second, or did I do whatever it works?
So I think we have a motion by Ms. Sullivan and a second by Ms. Smith. Did I get, Ms. Davis, excuse me. All those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. By a vote of all of us and the student advisory vote, the consent agenda is approved. We are now going also on to the first read and of information items. And the first one is the employment and separations report from October 18, 2025 to November 7th, 2025. Board members, are there any questions? If not, we're going to move on to the monitoring reports, and that is the budget analysis report general fund for the 4 months ending 10/31/2025. Board members, are there any questions? Again, seeing none, we'll move on to the community linkage reports. And I would like to start with our student trustee, Ms. Smith. Do you have anything to report?
I do, President Bittersmith. Thank you. So during this past, this has been like an amazing month. I was able to meet with President Daniels and Dr. Hollins from Mesa Community College just on student engagement and how I can engage more with student leadership at Mesa Community College. So I was able to do that. I also participated on the panel for the Student Success Conference. So that was amazing to be able to participate and meet additional faculty and administration and staff just to talk with other students about our journeys, as well as answer any questions and how faculty can continue to engage with students. So definitely a great opportunity this month. And I just want to say, President Bittersmith, too, that I'm thankful for this season, for being on the board, for having this experience, for being able to engage with students, engage with the board, and being able to learn and grow, not only in this role, but also in other roles that I participate in outside of this board. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Smith. We appreciate your comments. And I know you and I are going to chat a little bit about the ongoing conversation about student engagement, correct?
Correct.
Wonderful. Thank you. Okay, Ms. Butler.
Thank you very much. I last week attended the Maricopa Community College Foundation Board, where we were thrilled to welcome our brand new president and CEO, Julie Dunnigan, who is here with us tonight. Just started this week, so she is hitting the ground running. And we discussed the very successful Heroes of Education event that was held earlier this month. Wonderful attendance, and it was a real successful event, and it was fun to hear all of the feedback from board members who attended. And other than that, I just want to say happy Thanksgiving this week to everyone, and that concludes my report. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Davis.
I went to the Kranitz Memorial Scholarship Lunch at PV, which was wonderful. I got to visit with some students. Both of them at my table were going into entrepreneurship, so it was wonderful to talk to them. I really enjoyed that. I went to the Emeritus event, but so did Dr. Thor, so I'm going to leave something for her to talk about. I went to the Student Success Conference. Dr. Daniels, we have to move Mesa Community College a little more west so that it's easier to get to. Oh my gosh, it took me forever to get over there, but the conference was amazing. And the keynote speaker was really outstanding. I loved that guy. I was sitting there thinking, he needs to be a preacher. And then the chancellor told me he is a preacher. So he was really, really good. I totally enjoyed that. I went to the Heroes of Education event, and so did many of us, so I'll let somebody else report on that. And then most of all, I wanted to report that I participated in the the Estrella Mountain Community College Veterans Fun Run. And I got this t-shirt just because I am in competition with Dr. Narini for t-shirts. But in addition, Dr. Narini, I got a medal. I also earned first place in my age group. We won't talk about the fact that I was the only one in my age group, but I walked it with my new knee and I made it through. So, and we won't talk about which place I ended up the race in, but it was wonderful. And my kudos to Estrella Mountain, because they do their vet run right. Being the wife of a veteran, 11:11 at 11 o'clock is what they do for their vet run. And I just love it. So thank you for hosting that for our West Side community. And that concludes my report.
Who is the official counter in the t-shirt contest? Is that a job that I am inheriting? We will figure that out. That may be your job, Dr. Gonzalez, to arbitrate the t-shirt contest. Ms. Sullivan.
Thank you. I attended the Heroes dinner and want to congratulate the team that put that together, and also recognition of all the heroes that came from the individual colleges. Certainly a lot to celebrate at that event, and we appreciate you coming on board with us, and next time it'll be yours to lead. But thank you again for that, and to all those heroes. My only message is happy Thanksgiving to all of you, and for me to share that I'm thankful to be able to do this work with you and to show you the great gratitude that you extend to our students and to our faculty and staff to be successful in the work that they do together. So happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Thank you, Ms. Sullivan. Ms. Smith?
No report. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Dr. Thor. I'm coming to him. He's next on the list. I'm not missing him. I did put some space and time between the
It's
t-shirt
obviously
contestants.
ladies first, Tom. On October 29th, I attended Education Forward Arizona's annual fundraiser called an Inspired Ed Evening. Paul Luna, President and CEO of the Helios Education Foundation and a great friend of the Maricopa Community Colleges, received the Luminary Award. And the event was indeed inspiring, particularly the remarks of the Education Forward Arizona alumni scholar. That was just amazing. And as Donna Davis indicated, on November 5th, I also attended the inaugural celebration at Mesa Community College of the newly appointed faculty and the emeriti faculty. And I thought this was a really special gathering because it bridges the past, the present, and the future of the Maricopa community colleges. And I was pleased to be asked to offer some congratulatory remarks on behalf of the board. On November 13th, I attended virtually, along with several hundred others, the opening keynote address at the Student Success Conference. And as Donna indicated, Dr. Michael Baston, the president of Cuyahoga Community College, gave an enthusiastic and dynamic and interactive presentation on the power of possibilities. And it also was just very inspiring. The same day, along with most of the board members, I attended the Heroes of Education celebration at the Heard Museum. And a special treat for me was seeing Maria Hesse, second president of Chandler Gilbert Community College, Phil Randolph, former president of both Glendale and Gateway Community Colleges, as well as Dan Whittemore, who was, Kim remembers Dan, the former vice chancellor of business services and a generous donor to the Maricopa Community Colleges Foundation. To round out all of these great events, on November 14th, I attended Rio Salado's inaugural annual Alumni Hall of Fame celebration. And Tempe City Councilwoman and Tempe Union High School District Governing Board member, Burdetta Hodge, gave, again, an inspirational keynote address. Her address was followed by fantastic videos of each of the 3 inductees telling their Rio Salado story. And I have to confess, this was particularly gratifying for me, as all 3 inductees benefited from programs that originated during my tenure at Rio, such as dual enrollment, educational services partnerships with employers, the teacher preparation program, and online learning. And remarkably, 2 of the 3 inductees have or will soon have doctoral degrees. So there was just so much to celebrate, and happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Thor. And now Dr. Narini. Feel free to countermand the t-shirt count you're collecting.
Well, thank you. First, I want to start by congratulating our NJCAA Division II National Soccer Champions, the PC Bears. So again, as everyone else, I attended the Heroes of Education, and it was a good event because Julie was there before she started, and she's back. So, and then I attended on November 19th, I attended the foundation board meeting virtually. And I also want to give a shout out to South Mountain, where this last week they handed out 500 turkeys to families in South Phoenix and the students. So they did an outstanding job of raising the money, getting the food, not just turkeys, they gave other food as well. And so they did an outstanding job. So thank you for doing that. And then I too just want to be grateful for everything that we have going, and just want to wish everybody a warm and happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Dr. Narini. I have some events that no one else was attending, so it's a little bit different. I was pleased to be invited to attend the Greater Phoenix Leadership Mayors event, which was all of the living mayors of Phoenix spoke. But what was important about that is Neil Giuliano, who's the head of GPL, made about a 5-minute pitch about how fabulous Maricopa Community College District was in an audience of some of our partners, but people that needed to hear that. It was worth the entire trip back and forth to downtown to hear that, and that was unsolicited and certainly not planned. I then that evening joined many of you at the Heroes event, which again I think was well done. There were a number of elected officials that were our guests at the Heroes event who also got a chance to hear about the good work that we're doing, and I know that at the end of the day those dollars will go to good use. So thank you for that. And then I had an opportunity to attend the Education Forward Future of Education presentation. The chancellor was there as well at Helios. That was a really interesting conversation, some of which I was more controversial than I anticipated about where we were headed in terms of it was both a report from the Education Forward group, but also a presentation about what are the next steps as we move into the new technology environment. So I was pleased to be there, and I appreciate the opportunity to listen and learn. So with that, I will make sure that we know our next meeting dates because they are kind of on top of each other. On December 2nd, we will have our agenda review. On that will be online on our WebEx link. And then we move really quickly to our regular governing board meeting, December 9th, here back at Rio Salado, because from there we move on to Christmas holiday activities. With that, that concludes our meeting. I want to thank all of you for your time this evening. I want to echo the rest of the board members to those that are listening to us, but are also in person. Happy Thanksgiving. We appreciate all of you. We appreciate the chance to be a part of this board. And so there being no further business, let me reflect that it is 8:03 and the meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.